What's up guys, Samir. Today we're talking about hairline recession, or particularly how to fix a receding hairline. So I don't know what's worse, a receding hairline or a thinning crown, because I've experienced both and they both equally suck. When you're thinning on your crown, you're kind of always conscious of where your crown is showing and whatnot, and then when your hairline is receding, it pretty much takes up majority of your face and can change pretty much the structure of how your face looks. So they're both equally as bad, but today we're talking about particularly hairline recession and how to fix it. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Vera Clinic. Vera Clinic is where I got my hair transplant done from. If you're looking for a quality, trusted professionals who can get you long-lasting and natural-looking results for a fraction of a price, look no further than Vera Clinic. They got me these amazing results for my own hair transplant, and I would highly recommend them to anybody looking to get their own transplant done, especially overseas. If you want to check out my series of my hair transplant, where I filmed the whole surgery and everything, as well as my month-by-month recovery, I'll leave a link to that whole playlist in the description below, as well as the contact information for Vera Clinic so you can contact them for your own hair transplant needs. That being said, let's jump right into the video. So a receding hairline can be very sneaky because it can creep up on you at any time, and it happens so gradually that you may not even notice until a few years down the line. You're like, wait a second, when I look at my old photos, pretty much the front half of my scalp is gone. Or in scenario number 2, which happened to me, where I had a widow's peak and slowly would start really turning into that V shape again. And if you're someone who started experiencing both a receding hairline and thinning in the crown area, that's the absolute worst, because what will essentially happen is that you'll start experiencing some thinning in the scalp while your temples start receding, and then slowly they shrink together just like this till you eventually have no hair left on the top. That's why it's super important to notice those earlier signs, especially if you see your hairline on the sides, especially thinning a little bit. That's usually a good indicator that, hey, it's probably time for you to start taking action now, because prevention or slowing it down is going to be significantly easier than trying to recover the hair back. So first things first is take a note of where you are currently in the loss of your hairline progression. Take a look at some of your old photos, compare to where you are now, so you have a good idea of how much ground you have lost, or if you have started losing any ground. These areas, especially up on the top, they start becoming something called dead zones. Dead zones on the scalp are exactly what they sound like they are. Once those areas are gone, they are very hard to bring back to life and regrow hair in that area. Even with treatments like minoxidil and finasteride, it is very rare that those dead zones are going to come back, and the only real way to make a substantial difference is going to be a hair transplant. So again, if you start seeing earlier signs, start taking action now. Now with that being said, what can you do, right? What are some actionable steps that you can do to prevent the recession of your hairline? One is obviously minoxidil. If caught early, this can be easily reversible with minoxidil alone, but as we know, minoxidil itself does not work as well on the hairline. It's going to need a better way to be absorbed by the scalp. That's why I recommend doing a two-step approach. So obviously first is going to be the minoxidil, then followed by something like a derma roller. This is a device that you use. You can just roll onto your scalp or your hairline, and essentially what it does is that it creates these small micro punctures on your scalp, and the healing of those wounds is what helps stimulate growth factors like collagen and protein. And essentially when those wounds open up, they also allow for better absorption of minoxidil. All in all, using these together can increase your results by up to 4 times than just using minoxidil alone. You can use something like the electronic derma roller. You get that on Amazon. It is a bit more on the pricier side, but you can get your job done a lot quicker. This is something that you can not only use on your hairline, but also on the remaining of your scalp as well, as this is extremely effective in bringing back hair within as little as 5 to 6 months. But obviously with like any treatment, you have to be consistent with it, and even after you get your hair back, you have to continuously keep up with these treatments if you want to keep the hair that you have. And now that goes on to our second point, which is proper hair loss prevention protocol. When it comes to retrieving your hairline back, this is the best approach to retrieving it. After you retrieve it, it is just as important to preserve that hair that you have. For that reason, you're going to have to use a DHT blocker, whether that's finasteride, RU58841, saw palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, or whatever medical or natural alternative that you choose, because without that, you're going to end up losing your hair again. But unfortunately, if you've already lost a lot of your hairline, to be completely real with you, it's going to be extremely difficult to bring it back even with these treatments. So in that case, your second best option is going to be a hair transplant. Good news about a hair transplant, especially on the hairline, is that if you get only a hairline transplant, the hairline grows back really quick, like within the first 3 months of you getting the transplant, and then the rest of your hair grows out within the next like 6 to 8 months. So if you're just receding your hairline and you want to get a transplant, that's probably the best bet for you, and it's going to be the fastest fix for you to carry on. But if you're someone like me who had to go through the hair transplant and the rest of the scalp, it's going to take some time. If you're getting a hair transplant on your hairline, be sure to get a clinic who knows their graft placement technique, especially if it's going to be in Turkey. A lot of Turkish clinics that you go to, they're not going to pay attention to the amount of grafts that they're going to take out. They typically like to over harvest the donor area and put way more grafts in the front than you need to. Make sure you follow the natural protocol of your current hairline and don't bring your hairline too low down. And when they are doing your hair transplant, make sure they know proper graft placement techniques. That means that they're able to properly allocate the grafts that are double, single, and triple. When they're starting with the hairline, they naturally put the single ones first and then the double and triple as they continue, especially of the top quarter of your scalp, because that's the most sensitive area. And if they start with double or triple grafts and it doesn't follow this natural structure of your hairline, it's going to look very unnatural and it's going to be obvious that you got a hair transplant. The best hair transplant is the one that looks very undetectable. As you can see, I also got my hairline reconstructed, but I'm very happy because it looks very natural. If someone sees me randomly, they're not going to suspect that I got a hair transplant. That's my number one tip if you're going to go the hair transplant route, especially if you're doing it overseas in Turkey. If you are looking for a hair transplant clinic and you don't know which one to choose, I've already done the homework for you and I've got a very natural looking results. And as I said, I'll link my clinic in the description below. But yeah, these are a few ways to combat a receding hairline. So make sure you take action on it now, because the longer you wait, the worse it's gonna get. And we don't want to end up in a position where you are completely in the dead zone and not being able to retrieve the hairline back. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.